So some of the why behind what we're doing today, I want you to really understand today that practicing gratitude can change your brain. And it's through that practice that it does that. And I want you to understand that optimism and positivity, while they're synonyms, they do not mean the same thing. They actually are a little different. And I want you to think through as we go through the activities today, how might goals that you set become more impactful when you begin from a place of gratitude, and also how are gratitude and optimism connected. So before we jump into everything, I want to know who is here today. So I think Rhonda's going to put a link in actually, before we do this, I just remembered, I'm going to actually go through our folder and what is in this folder. So you do have access to my presentation. This is actually the Jamboard that Rhonda will put the link in the chat for you. Then the next 3 documents here are some articles we're going to read. Then number 6 is a gratitude journal. 7 is a template you can use for the goal setting activity, but you don't have to use this. And then these are just to keep myself on track. Rhonda's helping me keep myself on track during the presentation. But right now I want you to go to the Jamboard. And I want you to tell us who you are. And you can just go grab a sticky note over here and then put it in one of the boxes. And if we need more, if we have more people, then I have squares. I'll quickly make another jam slide. But just tell us who you are, if you want to tell us what you do as well. But then what's a word or phrase of what you're hoping to get out of this session today, your learning intention. So I'm going to just give you a couple minutes to do that. And if you haven't used Jamboard before, you just go click on the sticky note and then you start typing.
So just a few logistics. I just got that Jamboard link in the chat, and then I'm also sending you a little message, Janet, so the chat pops up on your end.
Perfect.
Great.
There it is. Hi, Cynthia. I'm glad you're here with us. Oh, you moved it, and great. Cindy Orr, thought I recognized Cindy's face. And Cheryl, I'm so glad you're here. Leslie. Kathleen. Kim Allen. I thought I recognized Kim's face when I first came in. Jess Mason, Kathleen Stanton, Jill. Jill is here. Hi, Jill. I knew that Rhonda had your name on her screen, but so the real Jill is here too.
Masquerades as me sometimes, and the other way around.
Okay. So we have some teachers and social workers and coaches, librarians. Exciting mix. I'm so glad you're all here today. So we're going to get right into it here. So for some people, there are two different types of people when it comes to goal setting. And for me, it's always, I vary between these two all the time. Some people feel like this when they are asked to set goals. It's like, okay, so what are these goals for? Do they have to be SMART goals? Does it have to be about student achievement? And does it have to be, am I going to have to report out about these goals later? So for some people, goal setting can elevate their stress level. But then for other people, when they hear about setting goals, they are rocking. They're so excited to set goals. And, it all is about, I think, the context of your goal setting. And, as educators, a lot of times when we think of goals, we immediately go to the SMART goals, which SMART goals have a place and they're so important. But sometimes it's important just to set goals that are also related to dreams. And sometimes SMART goals can also be that way as well. But I think before we ever start setting the goal, we have to get ourselves in the right frame of mind. So one thing I want you to do is in the chat, when I tell you, I want you to type in the chat, what does goal setting mean to you? What's your first reaction when you hear the word goal setting? And don't hit submit until I tell you to hit submit. We're going to do something called a waterfall chat.
And just checking, Janet, the chat popped up for you.
It did. So
excellent.
Yeah. Okay, everyone hit submit. Like a plane in flight, we continually need to adjust course, even if by 1 degree. Goal setting helps us stay the course. Yes. Goal setting can be a focused motivator, a way to achieve things in life. It makes me feel I have to say something I'm not ready to share yet. Yep, sometimes goal setting is like that. Attention on a focused idea, accomplishment, putting your dreams down on paper and having a plan and timeline to achieve those. Goals help me drive direction and create a plan to help me make things happen and progress. I love all of that. You guys are all, I see a lot of growth mindset people in here, which is fantastic. So before we get to goal setting, though, we're going to begin with gratitude. And so the word gratitude itself means being thankful, being able to show appreciation and return kindness when we receive it. And it's an appreciation of what's meaningful to you. But gratitude, there's been a lot of research, and I've read a lot of what Simon Sinek has done, and he's shared an article recently, or I guess recently, within the last year, recently from Jim Quick, who writes a lot about gratitude, but he actually wrote an article about how gratitude rewires your brain. So we're going to, Lulinda, setting goals helps trigger new behaviors. Ooh, I like that. How it helps you get new behaviors. I love that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go into breakout rooms, and you're going to work in groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So work in groups of 4. And I want you to read this article, and it's the article number 3. And I think Rhonda's also going to put a link to that in the chat. But it's actually, it talks about how gratitude rewires your brain. And so as you read that, I would like you to closely read it silently. You're going to be in your breakout rooms, but go ahead and read it silently. And then as a group, discuss ideas that were confirmed and things that were new, and then choose one person in your group to add to the Jamboard of noticings and wonderings. And you can add more than one, but add at least one noticing and one wondering to the Jamboard. And the Jamboard looks just like this. The slide it has a section for I notice and a section for I wonder. So again, the article is How Gratitude Rewires Your Brain. And in just about 15 seconds, you're going to go into groups. If you want to take a picture of what you're supposed to be doing, here are the directions again.
And just a quick note in case you didn't see it in the chat, I put the article in the chat. You want to be sure and open that before we move into groups, because you'll lose access to this chat once you're in your breakout room. Janet, you let me know when we're ready to go.
Okay, I think we're ready. I think everyone probably has it open now.
Okay, here we go. People are going.
Okay.
I have Kathleen and Holly. If you're there, if you have any questions, let me know. Kathleen's gone. Holly, let me know if you have a question about joining. There is actually a box that has you choose to go into the room or not.
Hi, Rhonda. This is Kristen.
Hi.
I'm so sorry I joined late. Are we supposed to be doing something?
Yeah, I just now looked up, went, oh, there's someone not in a group. I'm just going to put you into a group we're just in right now, and you just join in best you can. Do you have access to the chat right now?
Yes.
I think there's an article that we shared that probably was there before you got there. So let me reshare that, because they're going in and first they're reading this article and then they are watching a video.
Okay.
And that will,
Thank you.
I'm going to put you into that group, into room 3. Thanks for speaking up. See you soon. can lay down.
Okay, so if you were like our group, you didn't get a lot of time to do your noticing and wonderings. So if everyone would go ahead and just take a minute and put down one noticing and one wondering, or also if you were just comfortable sharing, you can unmute yourself and do that as well, or we can put it in the chat. So you can do it either place in the chat, just unmute yourself, or put it on the Jamboard.
Well, one thing that I noticed was that just having gratitude, it helps in all areas of life. By reading through that article.
Yes,
That was
isn't
pretty
that amazing?
Yes.
Although I do have to say the one that says you exercise more, that just hasn't happened yet for me. I really appreciated his phrase where he talked about how the hypothalamus floods the brain with dopamine when you show gratitude. Just that imagery of flooding the brain with, I thought that was very a visual, impactful statement. Ooh, I like that question. How do I make gratitude practice really sticky so I do it habitually? That's a great. Okay, I need to know a little bit about There Must Be a Pony in here somewhere.
The article, it was a little parable about filling one room with manure and one room with toys.
Yes.
There's so much manure, there must be a pony.
Yes.
I love people like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, your life looks really hard and yet you're so joyous.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I have a principal like that. And even on the day that his father died and he called to tell me that his father died, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He's like, you know what though? We were all there with him. He was 93 years old and he was hurting. So it was a good thing. And that principle, I don't care what happens in life. He is always, always like that. He was in the Iraq War. He was he worked in prisons that had with life inmates, and he still to this day, everything, he finds the positive in everything. If I'm down, I go talk to him because I know he'll find a positive that I'll go, oh, you're right. Okay, life is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen. So we have some noticings and wonderings on our Jamboard. Cindy talked too about how she's tried to be intentional with staff who do something for her, or they email information to her and then she responds with something she appreciated. And I know a lot of leaders and a lot of team members, you know, say happy birthday or send a birthday card to staff, but she also in there is specific about what she appreciates about them. And that has, she's found that that really has been impactful for her staff. Okay, we're going to move on. If you think of some more wonderings, it's okay to add them. So, oops. So gratitude and optimism. A lot of times, and a lot of things that I've read, it's those two things together that supply us with hope. And in a world where, and when we're setting goals, I think we have to, it's that hope, not just I hope, but the hope that something is going to occur, you know, and it's with that goal settings and gratitude and optimism that gives us that hope that becomes that light that we can go walk towards. So what we're going to do, though, is hope and optimism are very much connected, but optimism and positivity, again, while they're synonyms, they're very different. And one can have negative connotations, actually, even though both of those words usually don't have negative connotations with them. So what we're going to do is we're going to get back into the groups. And if you are a group that has an even number, and I think this time, Rhonda, why don't I stay out of the groups? But if you have a group that has an even number, you're going to read the article that is hope and optimism. If you have a group that's an odd number, you're going to read the article that's about optimism and positivity. And basically on the Jamboard, you're just going to share the gist of what you read. What questions do you have about that? Does everyone know how to find out what group number they're in?
I think you're going to want to open up both articles so that when you get in the rooms, you can tell your room number, because it'll say room number 1, 2, 3. I could read each of your names. That could be, but you're going to want both articles. You're just going to read one of them, but
yeah,
it's important to note which one.
Yes. Okay.
I can just do that really fast though. Group 1 is Cynthia, Jess, Kathleen, and Kim Allen. Group 2 is Cheryl, Cindy, Janet. You're just going to choose not to join, and then Jill Diamond. Group 3 is Lulinda, Erica, Holly, and Leslie.
Okay.
So message me if you have any question on what your number was, odd or even.
Okay.
Any questions before we go?
And Rhonda, let's do 6 minutes for this, just because I think because I have read the articles before, I read them faster. So
we were 6 minutes last time. This one was set for 7. Do you want to go 7?
Yeah, 7. Sorry. Yes, 7.
Okay.
That'll work. Okay, I think we can go for it.
Here we go. I'm sure grateful to everyone witnessing our communication.
Yes.
Do you have a window that says to join or not?
Yeah, and I said not.
Yeah, just don't. Yeah, great.
Yep, got it.
It won't let me just take you out, which is weird. It doesn't put me in, but it won't let me take you out.
Interesting.
I'm going to pause recording, but I just also missed recording that whole section where you talked about the Jamboard, because I paused it during the breakout rooms, because it doesn't go into any breakout rooms. Even if I go into a breakout room, it pauses. So
Okay.
that's what we have found out. That's okay though, because
That's okay.
yeah. And this one, Holly, Holly if I can help, but I think that maybe Holly stepped away for a minute. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
So when I'm looking at time for this one, because I just wrote in time, like 1:26 would be the time you would want to start moving into gratitude makes us joyful.
Okay.
So that helps you know. So you're 10 minutes now. It'll be 1:22 when they come back.
Okay. Perfect.
Actually, we're like 5 minutes, 1:21. Yeah. Yeah, it feels good to me. And then, yes, then they see this Simon Sinek.
Yes. Yeah. No, I
was like, oh, I was thinking, how do I tell which one? How do they have these articles before they go in?
Oh, yeah. Well, and then one of the things I was doing, I renamed all my documents in my folder and put them in the order of when they were going to need them. I put the numbers in front of them. So hopefully that'll help.
Well, and the titles are in the thing.
Let me go see. I'll go look at the Jamboard. See if no one's back.
Yes. Some of our newer presenters were like, how do you assess how people are doing? And we're like, you have Jamboards and chats and things so those are your assessments. And then they were like, because they had those, they just weren't using them that way. So
Perfect. Good.
Yes. It was this in between time where I got to talk to them. It's like, we can't, it's good to not, I always tell my colleagues that, like, you don't need to go sit at the tables, step back with the presenter or step back as a presenter and give that time to think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think in my group, I think they were waiting for me to start the discussion the last time. And so I went, let's not be in there so they can actually
same thing. That's like recognizing your power in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
I was boxing with Lori Roberts. Like, you don't need to think about this right now, but I was boxing with Lori Roberts and we were talking about the type of leadership. And she was like, I would just be nervous she goes, I mean, I just would wonder if, hi, Erica. Are you just joining us? Or did I lose you out of a breakout room?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm rejoining because I got lost. My computer is a little slow, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's frustrating.
It is giving me.
Do you remember which room number you were in? Was it room 3?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to shoot you back there because it looks like they're down a person, so that's probably you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Glad you made it back. Did a window pop up? Yep, she's got it. Good. Actually, I think I'm going to just filter what I'm saying because I don't know Holly or where she is or what that is.
Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah.
But I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, that would be good.
In private time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's it look like? You might have to unshare to see your progress. Or are you looking on another screen?
I'm looking at it on another screen.
Nice.
You mean the hope and optimism piece?
Yeah, I can go look on mine.
It should be real time, but.
Yeah, maybe they're not on there yet. They have an article.
Yeah.
And they have about 2 minutes. It's fast though.
It is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love these. I love Google and when people are in there anonymously, the different animals that they create. The anonymous quokka, an anonymous jackalope, and platypus.
You have to like look them up. Well, what is that?
I know.
I don't even know what a quokka is. I do know that because we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
I
think quokka are those, they like have these big old cheeks. I think they're pretty cute. But I think they are actually fairly big animals. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Like a big rodent, aren't they? Like kind of a big rodent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun way to people are there.
Yep.
They just haven't had time. The thing is too, is that they have that before them. So they have that lens as they're answering and thinking.
Yes.
And then they're getting the reading. They might be discussing and just not getting it on the page.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's, and we can, if we need to, give them a second to add, or we can have, I could actually ask someone if they would maybe just put some text in there as we're discussing too. So.
Mm-hmm. Or one person from each group just could add in things they remember people saying.
Mm-hmm.
It has been such a rainy day here, and I have all these dogs. I told you about all the dogs I'm juggling. So
Yeah.
I've got 2 of them just sleeping here in the room.
Oh.
Really are the good dogs. It's okay. They were happy. My dog is, a lab. She's like, whatever. The wet is good. But one's a collie German Shepherd mixed, and one's a bloodhound. And they're both like, oh my gosh. And they're young, like 7 months and a year. And
Oh my goodness.
they're
Yeah.
out running around in the rain, having fun. And then they're like small children, like, now I'm cold.
Yeah.
So the black one, the collie German Shepherd mix, I came in with a towel, and we've done this before, but I've not seen him so grateful.
Mhm. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, they're coming.
Oh. There we go. I love
Oh, they're
it.
coming back at the same time as that bucko.
As you come back, if your group could add at least one thing to the Jamboard, just a gist of what you read. Oh, I love that. I really like that statement. We can acknowledge our emotions without becoming stuck in them. That's huge. And retrain your brain to move to optimism with careful attention. Yeah. So I think there was one more group I know that read the second article, the optimism versus positivity. It talked about toxic positivity. Could someone from at least one of those groups add the gist of what that article was about? That was the one that had the lemons on it. Okay. What were, was there anything surprising about the article that you read that you discussed in your group? You can either add to the chat or unmute yourself.
I think when it comes to being pessimistic, it's a form of armor. And it says that in the article. And it can be really easy to get lost in your armor. You spend so much time building it that the suit becomes too heavy. Or that the armor thing, what's the thing called that goes over your eyes?
The shield, or yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but
It's a visor.
it blocks your vision.
Visor. There we go.
It becomes a blinder. blocks your vision, and it can be really challenging to find your way back out of that. And so the article offers a couple small ideas about how to just recognize that you're in a place of pessimism and the impacts it has on your life if you don't get yourself out of it.
Absolutely. Metaphorical thinking absolutely is very helpful. And so, oh, yes, Kim.
I've never used sticky notes before, and I have no idea how to get the sticky note to what you're seeing.
Okay, so
I've got the sticky note on the big board, the very first one, but I can't get it to that one.
Okay, so see this at the very top here? That you can go back and forth between the different boards there.
Oh, okay. Let me see. So, okay, so I just grab it and then.
Yeah, and then you just click on the sticky note.
Okay.
And you just start typing.
Oh, okay now. But if I grab it, can I take it from one board to the next?
Oh, I don't know if you can.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. You might be able to, you can duplicate it, but I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can move it from one board to the next. That's a great question. I'm just going to do a quick experiment. I'm going to copy this instead of duplicating it, and I'm just going to go try to paste it here, and it works. You can copy and paste from a from another board.
Maybe, and then get back to this board and see if I can put it on here. Ooh, options to. Nope.
And I think Kim had a comment.
Oh, Kim, yes.
No problem. So one thing I noticed is that in the Jim Quick article, it talks about how gratitude floods your brain with dopamine. But I've also read, I don't have my hands on the science, but I think it was the Arbinger Institute, maybe Bonds That Make Us Free, that tells about the brain research that shows that victimhood also gives you a dopamine hit. So really you have to choose, and if we get sucked into the victimhood, then it will affect our level of positivity.
Absolutely. That is such a good point. Yes. And that's where it's that kind of armor in the pessimism. You don't want, you just expect to get hurt. So you put that armor up all the time. Absolutely. And I'm noticing that some people from the article about toxic positivity, sometimes things that are meant to be motivational can cause more trauma. And it's how we frame that, right? If we're just focusing on the positive, but not being real, that's different than being optimistic, right? Ultimate lemon overload, anticipate improvement. There are rotten lemons, but empathy for others. I like that. We have permission to breathe and feel. Absolutely. And we all react to things differently. And I think when we're trying to be optimistic with our colleagues and have gratitude, you have to acknowledge those things, acknowledge that I know you feel, I see that you feel this way. What if we can think this way? Or what if, but let's look at this and let's look at this and how can we move forward? And I think I appreciate having to have that choice. Oh, don't ruminate in your own juices. Absolutely. Yeah. So let's hear what Simon Sinek talks about optimism versus that toxic positivity.
Hey everyone, thought I would share a thought in these strange times. Hair and beard both getting long. Haven't figured out how to cut my hair yet. Might take out the old razor and buzz it. Anyway, one of the things which I preach, as everybody knows, is about being optimistic. This is different from being positive, and it's definitely not naive. A lot of people think that optimism is naive. It's not. Optimism is not the denial of reality. And positivity is about saying things are good even when they're not. So like, everything's fine here, nothing to see here, everything's good, we're good. That's positivity. We don't need positivity right now. Optimism is the belief that the future is positive. We are going through a hard time now. Times are tough, they're rough, they're dark, but we will get through this together. That's what optimism sounds like. It is not the denial of what is. It is not pretending that things aren't good. It is simply the fundamental belief that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and we are heading towards that light. So be optimistic. We will get through this together. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Talk to you soon. Hey everyone, thought I would.
Whoops, there we go. So, and of course, he was specifically talking about what we're all living through right now in this pandemic. But think about times when you work with colleagues and all they can see are how they can see the deficits in their students all the time instead of maybe the strengths in their students. But then we also have those who do try to ignore the reality of, oh, everyone's just fine. There aren't any problems here, when really there's a big elephant in the room that we aren't talking about either. So, so I want you to think about, and you're going to go back into your breakout rooms through this, and I want everyone to try to think of at least 2 examples that they can think of times, either personally or professionally. You can think of your school culture if you want to, or your district culture, where think of examples that are an example of someone being overly positive, and how can we reframe that into optimism. So an example might be, you have a classroom where things are kind of falling apart as far as the management of the classroom, but the teacher is like, oh no, everything's fine. Or, but this went well today. I had this great lesson plan, but no one got it, or something. So they only are seeing the positive. Or a leader maybe that is denying that people aren't getting along. That might be an example. So what would optimism be? I know we have some conflicts right now, but these are, and it's being caused by this. What can we do together to resolve this and move forward? So that might be the optimism. It still is acknowledging that the bad juju that's happening, but it's moving it in the right direction. So in your groups, think of at least 2 examples of toxic positivity, and how can that be reframed into optimism. And you're going to go into the same groups, and you're going to have about 6 minutes.
Ready to go. Shooting out there.
Okay.
You doing okay there, Erica? Is it popping you out again? Sometimes that little box to choose isn't there too. Or maybe she stepped away.
How can it be hot in here when I don't even see people?
I wonder if maybe you're doing more things than
Could be.
Brandon. We've all been saying that all morning. Brandon's like, why did I wear a blue shirt? I'm gonna have to put on a sweater just to hide my armpits. And I said, I don't think anyone can see your armpits. And he was like, oh yeah. So, and then he's like, and I'm also freezing. Like the room is freezing and I'm steaming hot, sweaty. Yep. Exactly.
I know. And it's so funny when you're in a virtual space because everyone's cameras are different or they don't have their cameras on, and
Yeah.
and it's much harder to read the room, and
Right.
so it's just always an interesting environment.
So I'm just going to do a time check with you.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're, just noticing we're going to come out of here at about 1:40. And that's probably about like 9 or 10 minutes, like 9 or 10 minutes. I don't want to say behind because it's not behind, but you're going to just want to watch your time with that.
Okay.
We know that we have an extra 5 minutes built in. So really it's just like a 5-minute little squishy spot. So it's just kind of being aware of where that is.
I think we'll be okay. And I might cut the practicing in the gratitude piece of being, trying out the gratitude journal down to 3 minutes instead of 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's places in there easily to.
Oh, look at that.
Whenever we're in this situation, we're like, Peggy, then you read this part, because she reads it so much more. Like she'll just read it, and Carrie and I comment through and say more things, and like, just put me in charge of that. We'll be through it.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the jamboard, and they have one of them said, we will be back to normal soon. What's normal? And then the optimism is new challenges, new technology, and new learning is coming. That's great. It's going to be okay. And optimism is going to be different, but that doesn't mean worse. I love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Phrases can be toxically positive. I'm fine. Everything is good. These masks our emotions. Absolutely. Yeah. So there were 3 groups. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, that's pretty great. I had to just keep thinking of that. What are they saying? The phrases can be toxically positive. Mm-hmm. I'm fine. Everything is good. These mask our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, we were even saying that about the sweaty, the sweaty feeling. I said, maybe we need to make sweaty okay, just like crying's okay. Like it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to cry.
Absolutely.
I was like, well, I have a short sleeve shirt on and my special deodorant, and I had a window open when I came in. Now I'm layering back up with my sweater.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing, but it's okay to be nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just nervous either. It's not necessarily, it's being in the action. It's being in the driver's seat and making decisions.
Absolutely. I love that. Yep. Assuming about the level of understanding and well-being can be toxic positive, and then asking about that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're coming back in 13, 12. I love that.
Oh, now they'll close in 10. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it. Yeah, it's 10 after the countdown. That's why I made it as short as possible.
I really appreciate these thoughtful examples. I was reading them as you were posting them, and great examples. I think sometimes I struggle really explaining what I want you to do, and you did it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I didn't even think about the assumption of how someone else is doing as toxic positivity, but that is, we do that all the time without thinking about it. But when a lot of times, and I appreciate the Idaho Coaching Network's work they've done with resilience this year. I actually bought Elena Aguilar's Onward workbook. And so we've been doing some of those things here. And that whole resilience piece, and not assuming that people know how, not assuming you know how they feel, or how that they think you know what you feel. And that's so key. Just asking. So, okay. Brene Brown, yes, how are you really doing in this moment? And speaking of Brene Brown, with gratitude, she talks about how practicing gratitude is how we acknowledge that there's enough and we're enough. And then it's not joy that makes us grateful, but it's practicing gratitude that makes us joyful. So we're going to practice a little bit of gratitude. And so in the folder, or I also have a Google Slide version of this. I call it Gratitude Each Day. This was something I put together for our new teachers at the beginning of the year. And I mean, there were I was seeing gratitude journals everywhere. And I just went, okay, I want to make something that makes sense to our new teachers, and it would be easy for them to do, because they were overwhelmed, and they were hearing negative things from colleagues, and we could see them just going down, becoming victims really fast. And so I wanted them to be able to have a tool that they could use to be intentional about practicing gratitude. And so we created this called Gratitude Each Day, and Rhonda just put a link that'll help you make a copy of this. There's also just a PDF version of it in the folder. So if you want to print it out and use it or change it however you want, that's up to you. But first you start with, coming up with a checklist of the people in your life that you're grateful for. And when we did this activity with the Idaho Coaching Network, making our flower of people we're grateful for, who our supports are, it reminded me of this part that I had put in, who are your family members, your friends, your colleagues, and even your students. Yes, the funds of knowledge, who you're grateful for. And then you go, this is how you could do it each day. What's something that was a win, one thing that went well for you today, one thing that inspired you, what fed your heart, one thing that challenged you instead of it was a mistake or awful, reframing that word. What was a challenge for the day, and how might you do something different about it tomorrow? And then a filler, whose bucket did you fill? And so you can do that every day. And then I got feedback like, I just can't do that every day. I said, okay, well, how about once a week? Being intentional once a week, find a win from the week, something that inspired you this week, a challenge and a filler. So we're going to take just a couple minutes, and I've got a little countdown for you. I want you to at least, and if you don't have this printed, that's okay, you can just write it down. I want you to at least try this gratitude checklist, and then try one or two of a win, a challenge, a heart. So we're going to take some time, and I've got some music we'll play. And this says 10 minutes, but it's really going to be less than that. Oops, that's. Okay, we're going to stop that just a little early so that we have time for our next section. So now that we're in that mindset of gratitude, thinking about understanding what, coming from a place of gratitude, how that rewires our brain, how it helps us even see things differently. And now we know people in our lives who we're grateful for and help us focus that way. We're going to get real. And this comes from the book by Tara Martin, Be Real. And I actually had the privilege of going through this activity with her. She designed this originally to get to know team members that she was coaching or a group of people that she was working with. And then they realized that this could be used to also set goals. And so I actually did this both with my mentor facilitators as we were setting goals for our teacher support program. I also did it with our administrative team as we were looking at our strategic plan and setting new goals for our strategic plan as well. So you can use it in a lot of different ways. And this is just a blank template that you can find in the folder. I think that Rhonda also put the link there for you, but you can also just use a piece of paper. This was from the actually the session that I did with Tara the first time I went through this. And I actually found this on her website when I was looking for some resources for this. So this is my Real Innovators Compass, the first time I did it. So you can just fold a piece of paper in fourths if you want to. And we're going to actually go through all the steps in this. So you start by, if you're using a piece of paper, fold it in four, and draw a circle in the middle. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4, starting at the bottom left, and then the top left, top right, bottom right. And then put that circle in the middle, and we're just going to go through these steps. And starting in that center, I want you to list names of people or things even. Who do you serve? And you can choose to do this professionally or personally. So who do you serve? I'm going to give you a few seconds to do some listing. Okay, we're going to go to the bottom left quadrant, and I want you to write down and it could just be a list. What is your current reality in your either personally or professionally? What is your current reality? What are some things you're working through? What are some things that are challenging you? What's your current reality? Okay. Now in the upper left-hand quadrant, how do you know you just rocked the day? So when you've had a great day of coaching or a great day of teaching or a great time with your family, how do you know it was great? What are some things that describe that? Okay, moving to the top right-hand quadrant. What are some big dreams that you have? Big dreams. Okay, now this last quadrant, we're going to do some things. I want you to look at your current reality. Look at how you know you really did a great day. And then I want you to look at your dreams, and I want you to consider how can you take your current reality and make one of your dreams happen, looking at your strengths. So I want you to circle one of those big dreams, whether that be professionally or personally. Now in that bottom quadrant, I want you to write next week, next month, and 6 months. And I want you to think of something you can do next week, something you can do next month, something you can do in 6 months that will help you reach that dream. Okay. Oh, yes, Cynthia, next week, next month, and then in 6 months. And if you were doing this, you could choose whatever time frames you wanted. And so then on the back, I want you to finish this sentence frame. You can turn it over on the back. I want to blank, and I'm going to do this by blank. And that by can be your action items. And if you want to be brave and add your sentence frame to the Jamboard, please feel free to do that. But what I really want you to do And I of course am running out of time because it's now 2:01, but I really want you to think through all the things that we did today. And what is your one thing that you could see you doing or taking away from today? Think of how might you use something like this with your students? How might you use something like this with your team in your classroom? Just one, I'd like you to just add one thing to the Jamboard of what you're going to take away from today. And I hope, my hope for you today was that you could see that if you start with a place of gratitude, when you get your mind in that frame, and actually after you practice gratitude for a while, and then you set some goals, you can create goals based in hope and based on your dreams and aspirations.
Janet, thank you so much. I think that it's just rewarding to reflect and have time to reflect. That's the bottom line of that you've carved out and given us this time. And then as we think of all the ways to transfer it and bring it into the lives of our classrooms and people we love, that makes such a difference. We do have a break that's next, and it is a 15-minute break. Doing some looking at my chart over here. So we do see some other people kind of tumbling in. If there are some questions or some things, we still have some time here to just tidy up and then take a break and stretch and move into the next session. And again, Janet, I just want to say thank you again for all that you do in leadership in our state, in Region 4, in your district, and here with us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'm so glad you all were able to join us today.